Captain Elias Rinn sat in the cockpit of the Starfire, his hands resting lightly on the control panel. The human starship hummed quietly around him, but his mind was loud with thoughts. Ahead lay the planet Virith, a storm-racked world far from human space, and on it, a dangerous mission that could define the future of interstellar diplomacy. The galaxy knew humans were brave, sometimes reckless and always unpredictable. Elias had earned a reputation for surviving impossible situations, and now that reputation had brought him to the attention of the Lyrithian Royal Council. Princess Leora, heir to the Lyrithian throne, had been kidnapped by a rogue faction trying to destabilize the kingdom. The council had no human soldiers to send. They needed Elias. "Are you sure you want to do this?" asked Lieutenant Mara, his co-pilot and longtime friend. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying worry beneath her calm exterior. Elias gave a half-smile. "You know me, Mara. If I can save her, I will. Besides, humans are good at surviving what others call impossible." The Starfire broke through the upper atmosphere of Virith, and the storm below swirled violently. Dark clouds lit by flashes of electrical energy rolled across the planet's surface. Elias gripped the controls tighter. The planet was notorious for its harsh weather and treacherous terrain. No alien pilot had survived a landing here in years. "Autopilot can only do so much," Elias said. "I'm taking manual control." Mara nodded. "Just don't make me call you a fool if this goes wrong." "Too late for that," Elias muttered. The Starfire descended into the storm, lightning striking dangerously close to the hull. Turbulence rocked the ship, but Elias guided it with steady hands, weaving between massive spires of rock and electrical currents. Below, the rogue faction's fortress loomed, jagged and unnatural against the storm. Its walls were made of dark metal and crystal, pulsating faintly with energy. "Sensors indicate heavy patrols," Mara said. "Automated drones, defensive turrets, and environmental hazards everywhere." "Sounds fun," Elias replied, a grin crossing his face. They landed just outside the fortress under the cover of a narrow canyon. The ship's engines hissed as they powered down, leaving only the sound of the storm and distant howls of alien creatures. Elias and Mara checked their gear: energy blasters, climbing tools, and portable shields. Every step they took from this point on was dangerous. One wrong move and it could all be over. "Remember," Elias said, looking at Mara, "we're here for the princess. We avoid unnecessary fights. Stealth first, action second." The canyon led them to the fortress's perimeter, a massive wall studded with energy turrets. Human stealth technology had a chance here. Elias activated the cloaking device on their suits and they slipped past the outer sensors. Every second felt stretched, every shadow a possible threat. Inside the fortress, the air was cold and metallic. The hum of energy fields and the faint clicking of security drones filled the corridors. Elias moved ahead, scanning for traps. His mind worked fast, calculating paths, timing, and risks. He paused as a drone passed by, its sensor scanning the hallway. Using a reflective panel from his gear, he distracted it, sending it spinning harmlessly into a wall. "Good thinking," Mara whispered. "Just human instinct," Elias said. "Nothing fancy." The corridors twisted like a maze. Elias relied on both his instincts and a small drone scout he had released ahead of them. It transmitted live images of the security layout. They navigated the labyrinth, avoiding patrols, slipping past locked doors, and silently disabling alarms. Every moment, Elias's heart raced, not with fear, but with focus. Finally, they reached the cell block. The princess's cell was high-tech, with force fields and energy locks. Elias crouched beside the console, pulling out his multi-tool. He had no Lyrithian codes, only his human engineering skills and a lot of improvisation. Sparks flew as he manipulated circuits, bypassing the lock system. "Almost there," he muttered. The door hissed open. Inside, Princess Leora sat quietly on a bench. She was not frightened, only observing. Her eyes, large and intelligent, fixed on Elias. "You must be Captain Rinn," she said calmly. "I've heard of humans," Elias smiled. "Hopefully all the good things." Leora raised an eyebrow. "Some say humans are reckless. Others say brave. You seem both." Before Elias could respond, the fortress alarm blared. Someone had triggered a sensor they hadn't noticed. Red lights flashed as the corridors filled with drone patrols. "Time to improvise," Elias muttered. He grabbed Leora's hand. "We go now, fast and smart." The storm outside seemed louder than ever, a deafening roar as they sprinted through the corridors. Drones activated behind them. Their sensors locked on. Elias hurled a small EMP device, disabling several patrols at once. Sparks and smoke filled the air. They reached the main hangar where Elias had parked a small reconnaissance shuttle. But the storm outside was growing worse, and the shuttle's engines had been damaged by earlier strikes. "Think fast," Leora said. Despite the situation, her tone was calm, almost amused. Elias had not expected that. He scanned the shuttle and then the hangar's control panel. Using spare parts from the maintenance bay and a bit of human ingenuity, he rigged a temporary energy conduit to power the shuttle's engines. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and smoke curled around them, but the shuttle roared to life. They lifted off just as a massive bolt of lightning struck the hangar's outer wall, sending metal and debris flying. Mara at the controls helped guide them through the storm, relying on Elias's navigation and quick thinking. "Hold on," Elias shouted. The shuttle shook violently. Leora gripped his arm, but she did not panic. Her calmness, even in the face of death, surprised him. Humans often thrived in chaos, but seeing another species respond with such grace was inspiring. Finally, they broke through the storm into orbit. Elias exhaled. For a moment, silence fell, broken only by the shuttle's engines. "You did it," Leora said, her voice soft but sincere. "You saved me." Elias gave a weary smile. "Not just me. Humanity always finds a way when things look impossible." Leora looked out the viewport at her kingdom below. "I've seen bravery, but humans, you're different. You take risks we would never consider. And somehow, it works," Elias shrugged. "We're good at surviving, I guess." The shuttle set a course for Larithia's capital, but Elias knew the danger was not over. The rogue faction would not give up so easily. And returning the princess safely was only the first step in a larger game of diplomacy and survival. As they approached the capital, the skyline of Larithia came into view, tall towers of crystal and metal, glowing softly under the setting sun. The beauty of the city did little to calm Elias's nerves. He had saved the princess, yes, but what awaited him at the palace was unknown. Queen Seraphina, Leora's mother, was known for her strict rules and high expectations. "Brace yourself," Leora said quietly. "My mother will want to see you immediately." Elias leaned back in his seat. "I was hoping for a quiet landing," he muttered, though a small smile tugged at his lips. The shuttle glided toward the palace's landing platform. Below, citizens of Larithia gathered, cheering the return of their princess. Elias felt a strange warmth in his chest. Humans often sought adventure, but seeing the joy and relief of another species was rewarding in ways words could not capture. The shuttle landed. The doors opened, and Elias helped Leora step onto the platform. Cameras, reporters, and officials surrounded them, but the most important figure stepped forward, the queen herself. Tall, regal, with piercing eyes and an aura of authority, Queen Seraphina approached. "Captain Elias Rinn," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. "You have done the impossible. You have returned my daughter safely." Elias bowed slightly. "It was my honor, Your Majesty." The queen studied him carefully. "Few humans would dare what you have done. Fewer still would succeed. You have proven yourself invaluable. But know this, your role is not yet complete." Elias blinked. "Excuse me." The queen's eyes softened slightly, though her tone remained commanding. "The princess's safety is now your responsibility. Permanently. I expect nothing less than complete dedication. Leora's life and future depend on you." Elias felt a chill. He had expected gratitude, perhaps accolades, but this was something else. Leora squeezed his hand gently. "You've already risked everything for me, Captain. Whatever comes next, I trust you." Elias met her gaze, realizing that his journey had only begun. The galaxy had seen humans as clever, brave, and resilient. But now, he was about to show them what it truly meant to be indispensable. The palace of Larithia glittered under the twin moons, its towers shining like crystal in the night. Captain Elias Rinn followed Princess Leora through the grand corridors, marveling at the alien architecture. The walls were smooth and luminous, the floors soft yet firm, and the ceilings high enough to feel endless. Yet despite the palace's beauty, Elias's mind remained sharp. "Danger was never far behind, Captain," Leora said quietly as they walked. "My mother is cautious, but she is also wise. She will test you." "I don't mind tests," Elias replied with a smile. "I've passed worse, sometimes by accident." Leora chuckled softly. "Accident or skill, it seems humans have a way of surviving." They reached the princess's chambers. a spacious room filled with warm light and gentle music. Leora turned to Elias. "You must rest. Tomorrow we face the Queen's judgment and more." Elias leaned against the doorway. "Rest sounds nice, but something tells me my adventures aren't over yet." Indeed, the moment they entered the room, an urgent message arrived. The palace communication panel flashed red. Elias stepped forward, reading the message. The rogue faction responsible for Leora's kidnapping was regrouping on a nearby planet, preparing to strike again. "We can't wait for them," Elias said, determination in his voice. "If they attack Lyrithia, thousands could be in danger." Leora nodded. "Then we prepare. But we must be smart. We cannot face them blindly." That night, Elias studied the rogue faction's plans. Using a combination of stolen intelligence, observations from the Lyrithian scouts, and his human intuition, he began crafting a strategy. The rogue faction had strong defenses, unpredictable terrain, and advanced technology. Yet Elias saw a pattern. They relied too much on brute force and routine patrols, underestimating a human's ability to improvise. By morning, Elias had a plan. He gathered Leora and a small group of Lyrithian guards. "We go in carefully," he explained. "Humans survive by thinking differently. We don't attack head-on. We use the environment, distractions, and timing. I've done it before and will do it again." The team boarded a sleek Lyrithian shuttle. Leora watched Elias work on the navigation console, adjusting coordinates with precise movements. "You handle their technology as if it were your own," she said in admiration. "It's about understanding principles, not memorizing buttons," Elias replied. "Humans are good at seeing patterns." The shuttle descended toward the rogue faction's hidden base, a jagged planet filled with rocky cliffs, deep canyons, and thick storms. The alien guards whispered nervously. Elias noticed their unease. Humans thrived in dangerous places, not because they were fearless, but because they learned quickly and adapted. "Remember," Elias said, "danger is not the enemy. Hesitation is." The shuttle landed near a cliff edge. Below, the rogue faction's fortress glowed faintly, guarded by drones and energy barriers. Elias studied the terrain. "We can't storm the gates. Too many drones. We need to distract, then infiltrate from the side." Using portable holograms, Elias created fake patrols that drew enemy drones away. Smoke grenades added confusion. The team moved silently through narrow passages, avoiding sensors and hidden traps. Every step was calculated, every movement precise. Finally, they reached the fortress's inner chamber. Princess Leora had insisted on accompanying Elias, not just as a passenger but as a partner in strategy. She observed closely as Elias bypassed the energy locks on the doors. Sparks flew and tiny alarms beeped, but he moved quickly, improvising circuits with human ingenuity. Inside the chamber, they discovered captured Lyrithian civilians. They had been taken as leverage by the rogue faction. Leora's eyes widened in concern. "We cannot leave them here." "Then we free them," Elias said simply. "That's what humans do. We act, not just react." The group worked together, disabling locks and guiding civilians to safety. Drones approached and Elias had to think fast. He grabbed a reflective panel and used it to redirect energy pulses, temporarily disabling several patrols. Smoke filled the room. Alarms blared, but the team kept moving. As they reached the exit, the fortress began to collapse, an unexpected consequence of the rogue faction's unstable energy core. Rocks fell, walls cracked, and electrical surges sparked dangerously. Elias grabbed Leora's hand. "Hold tight," he shouted. They sprinted through the collapsing corridors, dodging debris and leaping over chasms. At one point, Elias used a grappling hook to swing across a widening gap, pulling Leora and a guard after him. The human reflexes and quick thinking kept them alive where logic alone would have failed. Finally, they emerged into the open, but the shuttle was not where they had left it. The rogue faction's sabotage had moved it to the cliff's edge, precarious and unstable. Elias's mind raced. There was no time to panic. Using the remaining tools and materials, he fashioned a temporary winch system to pull the shuttle back onto solid ground. Sparks flew, cables strained, but the shuttle stabilized. "Everyone inside," Elias ordered. The team scrambled aboard and he took the controls. The engines roared to life, and the shuttle lifted off just as the fortress exploded behind them, sending shockwaves through the planet's surface. "Not bad for a human," Leora said, her tone filled with awe. Elias grinned. Not bad for a princess who doesn't panic in a storm. As they flew back toward Larithia, Elias reflected on what had happened. Humans were often underestimated by other species. They saw technology, brute strength, or sheer numbers as measures of survival. But humans had something else: adaptability, quick thinking, and courage under pressure. Leora spoke up, breaking his thoughts. Captain, you've done more than rescue me. You've shown my people another way to face danger. They respect you already. Elias looked at her. It's simple. Humans face problems head-on, but we don't do it blindly. We think, we plan, we act. And sometimes we improvise. The shuttle approached the palace, landing on the designated platform. Citizens of Larithia cheered, celebrating the princess's safe return. Elias felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. The immediate danger was over, but the rogue faction was not finished. They would regroup. He had to be ready. As they stepped out, Queen Seraphina awaited. Her eyes were sharp, studying Elias with intensity. Captain Elias Rin, she said, you have returned my daughter unharmed. You have proven skill, courage, and ingenuity, but bravery alone does not guarantee loyalty or wisdom. Your next challenge is not the rogue faction. It is the trust of my court and the safety of my kingdom. Elias straightened. I am ready for whatever comes next, Your Majesty. The Queen's gaze softened slightly. Good. You will remain here with my daughter as her protector. This is not a suggestion. Her life and your role in it will shape the future of Larithia. You must understand that failure is not an option. Elias felt the weight of the words, heavy yet not oppressive. He had faced storms, collapsing buildings, and enemy forces. He could face this as well. Princess Leora squeezed his hand. Captain, I trust you. Whatever the Queen demands, we will face it together. Elias nodded. Then we begin a new mission. Not just to survive, but to protect and to inspire. Humans do that well. That night, as the palace lights dimmed and the city settled into quiet, Elias sat by the window, looking out over Larithia. The stars above seemed closer here than in human space, brighter and more alive. He knew that the rogue faction was out there, waiting, but he also knew that humans, when united with allies and guided by courage, could overcome almost anything. The palace of Larithia never truly slept. Even in the late hours, soft light shimmered along the crystal towers, casting gentle reflections across the city below. Captain Elias Rin walked through the corridors beside Princess Leora, his mind busy with the events of the past days. They had returned safely from Vareth, outsmarted the rogue faction, and freed the captured civilians, but a sense of unease lingered. Elias, Leora said softly, you feel it too, don't you? He looked at her. The danger, or the way my life just changed? She smiled faintly. Both. My mother is careful. She honors what you've done, but she also tests those who enter her trust. They entered the Queen's private audience chamber, tall and imposing. Queen Seraphina stood in the center, her hands folded. Her piercing eyes studied Elias as if measuring not only his courage, but his spirit. Captain Elias Rin, she said, her voice calm but commanding. You have done what few could imagine. You faced impossible odds, survived Vareth, and returned my daughter safely. For this you have my gratitude. Elias inclined his head respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. It was an honor to serve, the Queen gestured to Leora. And yet bravery alone does not secure the future of Larithia. A protector is more than a rescuer. A protector must remain vigilant, wise, and loyal. Elias straightened. I understand. I've never failed a mission yet, and I don't intend to start now. The Queen's expression softened slightly. It is not enough to survive, Captain. The rogue faction will not stop. There are others in the galaxy who covet what we have, who would see Larithia fall. You have proven your skill in action. Now I must determine your place within my court. Elias's stomach tightened. He had expected recognition, maybe rewards, but a permanent place in the Queen's court. That was something entirely different. Captain Rin, the Queen continued, the safety of Princess Leora is now paramount. To ensure it, I demand that you remain here with her as her guardian. Permanently. This is not a suggestion nor a temporary assignment. You are to be the princess's protector for as long as she needs you, and by extension for as long as I command it. Elias blinked. Permanently, you mean? Stay in Larithia with the princess indefinitely? Yes, the Queen said firmly. Only a human with your ingenuity, courage, and perspective could fulfill this role. I trust my judgment. You may not fully understand our customs, but you will learn, Captain. And you will serve not only Leora but the entire kingdom. Leora looked at Elias, her expression calm but full of respect. Captain, I am grateful, but I understand this is sudden. Elias ran a hand through his hair. It is. I came to rescue you. I didn't expect this. The Queen stepped closer, her eyes intense. Elias, Rin, humans are often underestimated. Yet you have proven that you think differently, adapt quickly, and act decisively. These qualities make you not just a rescuer, but a leader and protector. Larithia needs such qualities now more than ever. Elias exhaled slowly. I never thought humans would be seen this way by aliens. Not as saviors, but essential. The Queen nodded. Exactly. Your actions have already inspired my people. They see that humans are not merely observers. They are capable of facing impossible challenges and succeeding where others fail. The weight of the Queen's words settled on Elias. He had always known humans were different, capable, and adaptable. Yet hearing it recognized by another species, an entire civilization, was something else entirely. I accept your demand, Elias said finally, his voice steady. I will remain here with Princess Leora to ensure her safety. Not because I am bound, but because it is the right thing to do. The Queen's stern expression softened into a rare smile. Wise, Captain. It is not loyalty that is demanded, but understanding and cooperation. You will find that serving Larithia is not just duty, it is honor. Leora took a step forward and placed her hand on Elias's arm. Captain, you have already shown honor. You risked everything to save me. That courage will guide you as it guides all humans. Elias met her gaze. Her calm confidence, even after everything, strengthened his resolve. Then we face the future together, he said. The next days were a mixture of training, strategy, and diplomacy. Elias studied Lyrithian culture, learning the rules of the court, their methods of communication, and even subtle customs of etiquette. For him, the lessons were not just survival. They were opportunities to demonstrate human adaptability and ingenuity. He trained with the Lyrithian guards, teaching them human tactics, improvisation, quick problem-solving, and creative defense strategies. At first, the alien soldiers were skeptical. Humans were unpredictable, they argued. Yet, as they observed Elias's methods, they began to see the logic behind his chaos. One afternoon, Elias led a mock exercise in the palace courtyard. Lyrithian guards, armed with energy weapons and shields, practiced defending against simulated intruders. Elias introduced small challenges, unexpected obstacles, and quick changes in scenarios. Adapt, he instructed. Don't just react, anticipate, think. By the end of the exercise, the guards were not only more confident, they were inspired. Aliens who had doubted humans' methods now recognized their value. Princess Leora watched from the balcony, noting Elias's influence. He teaches them more than strategy, she said to one of her advisors. He shows them a way to think, to face challenges with courage and intelligence. Humans are remarkable. The Queen, too, observed closely. Elias's impact was clear. Not only had he saved her daughter, but he was transforming her kingdom's approach to danger and leadership. Yet she knew this influence could bring complications. Humans were strong-willed, independent, and sometimes stubborn. How he would handle the expectations of a queen and a kingdom remained to be seen. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Elias and Leora walked along the palace gardens. The air was cool, scented with alien flowers, and the city below shimmered like a field of stars. Elias, Leora said softly, you've done more than save me.
You've changed how my people see themselves and me.
I trust you, and not just because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Elias looked at her, humbled. I didn't come here to change anyone. I just acted. Humans do that. We act, we adapt, we survive. Sometimes others learn along the way. Leora smiled. And sometimes they are inspired. That is what you've done. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Red lights flashed across the palace walls. The rogue faction had struck again, this time with a new plan targeting the capital itself. Elias's mind snapped into action. He rushed to the control room, coordinating with the Lyrithian defense systems. Using a combination of human tactical thinking and Lyrithian technology, he created a plan to protect the city without unnecessary confrontation. Drones and patrol units were strategically deployed, energy shields strengthened, and evacuation routes secured. Elias used his knowledge of the rogue faction's previous strategies to anticipate their moves. Every step, Every decision was calculated. By nightfall, the threat had been neutralized, not with destruction, but with clever maneuvers and precise timing. The city remained safe, and the citizens were unaware of how close they had come to danger. Queen Seraphina observed from her chambers. "Captain Elias Ryn," she said, her voice carrying a mixture of relief and admiration, "you have done more than protect my daughter. You have protected Lyrithia itself. Your place here is no longer a demand, it is earned." Elias bowed. "It is my honor, Your Majesty. Humans act not for glory, but because it is right." Leora stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "And that is why I trust you always. You are more than a protector. You are a friend, a guide, and a part of our world now." Elias looked at the city below, the Queen and the Princess. Humans were often underestimated across the galaxy, yet here in this alien kingdom they were needed, respected, and appreciated. And for the first time, Elias realized that being human was not just about survival. It was about inspiring courage, ingenuity, and hope in others. As the twin moons reflected across the palace gardens, Elias knew his life had changed forever. The rogue faction would return, challenges would arise, and the demands of the Queen would continue. But he was ready. He was human, and humans had a way of thriving against all odds. The Queen's demand had become a partnership. The princess's safety was his responsibility, but it was also a chance to show humanity at its best. And Elias Ryn, human hero, would not fail, not now, not ever. The Palace of Lyrithia had grown quiet after the recent crisis. The rogue faction's attempted attack had failed, thanks to Captain Elias Ryn's quick thinking and strategy. The citizens celebrated in secret, grateful for their safety, while Elias walked the palace corridors ever watchful, ever alert. Princess Leora approached him in the early morning, her long robes brushing the floor as she walked. "Captain," she said softly, "you've changed how my people see us." "How they see themselves." Elias smiled faintly. "I just try to solve problems. Humans aren't perfect, but we adapt, and sometimes that makes a difference." Leora looked at him closely. "It makes more than a difference. It inspires confidence. You've taught our guards, shown the council, and even taught me things I didn't know I could do." Elias shrugged modestly. "It's simple. Humans don't just face danger. They learn from it, and we teach others to do the same. That's why we survive." Over the next few days, Elias focused on building stronger ties between humans and Lyrithians. He worked with the palace guards, showing them how to think on their feet, improvise, and act decisively in moments of uncertainty. "Watch this," Elias said one morning, demonstrating a technique for dodging and redirecting energy pulses from defensive drones. He moved with precision, and the guards followed his movements carefully, mimicking his timing and strategy. "This is unusual," said Commander Tall, a seasoned Lyrithian officer, "but effective. Human methods are different, but they work." Elias grinned. "Different is good. It keeps the enemy guessing." The guards began to trust his methods, their skepticism replaced by curiosity and respect. They trained harder, faster, and smarter, seeing results almost immediately. Elias watched with quiet satisfaction. Humans often succeeded because they taught not only skills but confidence. Meanwhile, Princess Leora and Elias spent more time together, planning defenses, exploring strategy, and learning from one another. Leora had always been intelligent and thoughtful, but Elias helped her see challenges from new angles. She learned to anticipate danger, think creatively, and trust her instincts, skills humans often mastered through experience. One afternoon, as they practiced tactical simulations in the palace courtyard, Leora said, "Captain, the rogue faction is clever, but not as adaptable as humans. They rely on patterns, routines, and brute force. You taught me how to see beyond that." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Humans survive because we improvise. We anticipate what others cannot. And we use the environment to our advantage." As the weeks passed, the rogue faction continued to plot. Though their previous attempts had failed, they were resourceful, determined to destabilize Lyrithia. Elias anticipated their moves, preparing the city with defenses, contingency plans, and training programs for the guards. One evening, a coded message arrived at the palace. The rogue faction planned a new strike, not just against Princess Leora but the entire capital. Elias studied the data, analyzing terrain, patrol patterns, and weak points. His human mind raced, calculating solutions. "We need a plan that does more than defend," he said to Leora. "We need a strategy that protects everyone, keeps the city safe and minimizes risk." Leora nodded, her expression serious. "Then we do it together." Elias organized the palace defenses. Energy shields were reinforced, drones positioned in strategic points, and evacuation routes carefully mapped. Human ingenuity combined with Lyrithian technology created a network of protection stronger than anything the rogue faction could anticipate. The day of the planned attack arrived. The city seemed peaceful, almost unaware of the danger looming above. Elias directed the guards, coordinating movements with precision. "Stay calm, stay alert," he instructed. "Watch patterns, anticipate, and react swiftly. Remember, we survive by thinking, not panicking." As the rogue faction approached, Elias's plan unfolded perfectly. False signals and holograms misled enemy drones. Lyrithian energy pulses created barriers that redirected their ships. Guards acted with confidence and speed, executing maneuvers that Elias had taught them. From the palace balcony, Princess Leora watched the scene, amazed at the human ability to adapt and lead. "It's incredible," she whispered. "Captain, you've shown them how to think, not just how to fight." Elias nodded, scanning the horizon. "That's the key. Humans survive by seeing the whole picture, anticipating what others cannot. Strength alone is never enough." The rogue faction's attack failed completely. Their ships were forced to retreat, confused and frustrated. The city remained unharmed, the citizens unaware of how close they had come to danger. Queen Seraphina observed from her chambers, impressed by the human captain's calm authority and strategic mind. Later that evening, the Queen summoned Elias. "Captain Rin," she said, her tone both stern and approving, "you have done more than protect my daughter. You have protected Lyrithia itself. Your methods, your human ways, have proven invaluable. You are not merely a guardian. You are a leader, a teacher, and a symbol of hope for my people." Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans do what is necessary, and we do not give up. We adapt, we survive." The Queen's gaze softened. "And that is why I trust you. Not because you are human, but because you are capable, wise, and loyal. You have become an integral part of this kingdom. I expect you to continue, not just for my daughter, but for all of Lyrithia." Elias understood. His role had expanded beyond protection. He had become a bridge between species, showing humans as adaptable, inventive, and honorable allies. Princess Leora approached him once more, placing a hand on his arm. "Captain, you've earned the respect of my people and my mother's trust, but you've also earned my friendship. I will stand by your side always as we face whatever comes next." Elias smiled. "Then we face it together. Humans survive by working with others and learning from them. That's what we do best." In the following weeks, Elias continued training, teaching, and preparing for any threat. The bond between him and Leora grew stronger, built on mutual respect, trust, and shared experience. She learned human strategies while he absorbed Lyrithian wisdom. Together they became a team capable of facing any challenge. One morning, while walking through the palace gardens, Elias reflected on how far things had come. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, seen as clever but fragile. Yet here, in this alien kingdom, humans were celebrated, not just for courage, but for their ingenuity, resilience, and ability to inspire others. "You think too much," Leora said, smiling as she joined him. "You always analyze every situation." "Humans survive by analyzing," Elias replied with a grin. "But I also see the value in learning from others. That's why this works. Together, humans and Lyrithians make a strong team." She laughed softly. "You are right. We learn from each other, and we grow stronger." As the sun set over Lyrithia, Elias knew the rogue faction was still out there, planning, waiting for another opportunity. But he also knew that the city, the princess, and the queen were prepared. Humans had shown that they could not only survive impossible odds, but inspire others to rise to their potential. That night, as Elias stood on the balcony overlooking the city, he realized something profound. His life had changed in ways he had never expected. He had started as a rescuer, a human thrown into an alien world. But now he was a teacher, a protector, and a symbol of hope. And in the quiet moments, when the city slept and the stars shone above, Elias understood the true essence of being human. Courage, ingenuity, and the ability to make a difference, not just for oneself, But for others, the rogue faction would return. Challenges would arise. Danger would never truly disappear. But Elias Wren, human hero, was ready. He had forged bonds of trust, strengthened the city's defenses, and shown that humans were not merely survivors. They were essential allies, capable of greatness. The capital of Larithia shined brighter than ever. Its silver towers reached high into the clouds, and its glowing walkways were full of peace once again. The people whispered stories about a human who came from a distant world and changed everything. They spoke of Captain Elias Wren, the man who faced storms, rescued a princess, and stopped an invasion with nothing but courage and clever ideas. But Elias knew peace was fragile. He had learned that danger often hid behind calm skies, and his instincts told him that the rogue faction, though silent for weeks, was not gone. Late one night, he stood on the balcony of the royal palace, gazing at the stars. The twin moons cast a pale light over the city. His small datapad beeped softly, showing a faint signal, an encrypted transmission. He opened it and his eyes narrowed. The message was short and chilling. "They come for the queen this time." Elias immediately went to the throne chamber. Queen Seraphina was awake, studying reports with her advisors. Her sharp eyes lifted as he entered. "Captain Wren," she said calmly, "you have that look again, the look that says trouble is near." Elias nodded. "Your Majesty, there's another plan forming. The rogue faction isn't finished. They mean to strike here in the palace itself." The advisors gasped, but the queen only raised a brow. "You are certain?" "Completely," Elias said. "They've gone quiet because they're ready. They'll come not with soldiers but with shadows, assassins, spies. Maybe even someone within your own council." The queen looked thoughtful, then smiled slightly. "Then we are fortunate to have a human who sees what others miss." Elias bowed. "We'll stop them before they move. But we'll do it the human way, with planning, traps, and misdirection, preparing for the unseen battle." The following days were busy. Elias met with Princess Leora and the palace guards, setting up new security layers. But unlike before, this time he didn't rely on strength or defense. He used deception, illusions, false targets, hidden routes. Leora watched as he explained his plan on a holographic map. "You're setting up false rooms?" she asked. Elias nodded. "Humans have a saying, make your enemy fight ghosts. If they don't know what's real, they can't strike right." She smiled in admiration. "Your species truly thrives in chaos." "Because chaos is where we learn the fastest," he replied with a grin. He taught the Larithian guards how to think unpredictably, to expect the unexpected. "Don't wait for orders," he said during training. "If something doesn't look right, act. Trust your instincts. That's how humans survive danger." The guards began moving like a living network, each one alert, flexible, and ready to react in ways no enemy could predict. The night of shadows, the attack came exactly a week later. At first, the night was peaceful. Then the palace lights flickered. A cold wind blew through the corridors. Shadows moved where no one stood. Energy fields blinked off for only seconds. But seconds were enough for danger. Elias was ready. From his post in the security chamber, he watched the feeds carefully. "They're inside," he said softly. "They move like ghosts, but they're still predictable." Leora stood beside him. "How can you see them?" "Because they move too carefully," Elias replied. "Real guards walk with confidence. Assassins try to vanish, and that makes them visible to me." He sent coded commands to his team. Sector 7, seal. Sector 3, lights to max. Project false signals in the West Hall. From above, the Queen's private guards activated holographic decoys, exact illusions of the Queen and Princess walking in opposite directions. The assassins split their forces, confused and divided. When they struck the first illusion, their weapons passed through harmless light. Elias's voice echoed through the palace speakers. "You should have studied humans before you came here." The real Queen was safe in a hidden chamber deep beneath the palace, protected by a handful of loyal guards, and Princess Leora. The turning point, the rogue faction's leader, a cold and calculating alien named Varen, stepped from the shadows. "You think tricks will save you, human?" he said through the comms. "We have numbers. We have technology. You have nothing but desperation." Elias smiled, his tone calm. "You're right about one thing. Humans are desperate, but desperation is what makes us unstoppable. He activated the final stage of his plan. The palace's ventilation systems released harmless but thick mist clouding the hallways. It confused scanners, blocked heat sensors, and created an illusion of dozens of moving figures. "Now," Elias whispered into his comm. "Move." The guards, trained in human unpredictability, moved swiftly through the fog. They didn't fight, they outsmarted. They locked doors, disabled weapons, and cornered the infiltrators with precise coordination. Varen found himself trapped in the Queen's garden, surrounded by silent guards and a calm human standing in front of him. "This is over," Elias said simply. Varen sneered. "You're a primitive creature from a forgotten planet. You think you've won?" "I didn't think," Elias said. "I planned." And with a small motion, the Queen's holographic presence appeared beside him. "You attacked my home," she said coldly. "But you will live to see Lyrithia stronger than ever, thanks to the one you underestimated." Varen dropped his weapon as the guards surrounded him. The infiltration was over. A kingdom united. When the mist cleared and the light returned, the people of Lyrithia learned what had happened. The Queen called a grand assembly in the central plaza. Thousands gathered, their colorful robes shining under the morning light. Queen Seraphina stepped forward and raised her voice. "My people, once again we stand because of courage, unity, and trust. But most of all, because of a human who showed us what it means to adapt and endure." She turned to Elias, who stood beside Leora, humble as always. "Captain Elias Rin, you have saved not only my daughter, but my kingdom, twice. You have shown us that humanity's strength lies not in power, but in spirit." The crowd cheered loudly. Many shouted his name, though the sound came out differently in their alien tongue. Leora smiled proudly. Elias bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. But I didn't do this alone. Your people listened, learned, and believed in themselves. That's the real victory." The Queen nodded slowly. "Perhaps. But no one can deny that humanity's heart now beats within this palace." Then, to everyone's surprise, she spoke again. "From this day forward, Captain Rin will not be merely a protector. He will serve as my royal advisor, a bridge between humanity and Lyrithia." The announcement drew gasps and applause. Leora turned to him, eyes bright. "You did it, Captain. You've changed everything," Elias smiled. "We did it." A quiet moment later that evening, Elias stood in the palace gardens. The air smelled of crystal flowers and warm rain. Leora joined him, her expression peaceful. "You could return to Earth now," she said softly. "You've earned rest, fame, and honor." Elias looked at the horizon where the twin moons rose once more. "Maybe someday," he said. "But not yet. There's still work to do. There are still lessons to teach for both our worlds." She nodded. "And I am glad you'll stay. You've become part of us now, Elias, not as a protector, but as family." He chuckled lightly. "Family, that's a human word that means more than duty. It means belonging." "I think I understand it better now." They stood in silence, watching the stars. Legacy of Humanity months passed. Lyrithia transformed. Human-style innovation spread through the kingdom. New technologies, flexible thinking, better cooperation among different species. The guards became symbols of unity, their training a blend of human instinct and Lyrithian precision. Other alien kingdoms began noticing, curious about the human influence. Delegations arrived to learn, to observe, and to understand. And in every story told, one message repeated again and again. Humans may come from a small, harsh world, but their hearts are larger than galaxies. Elias didn't seek attention. He spent his days advising, teaching, and improving life in small ways. But his name had already become legend. Children played Captain Rin and the princess in the streets, pretending to save their world from invisible threats. One evening, as he prepared to rest, Queen Seraphina visited him personally. She stood quietly before speaking. "Elias Rin, you came here as a rescuer. You stayed as a protector, and now you are one of us. I once demanded you remain in my service forever. But now I ask you, will you stay willingly?" Elias smiled gently. "Your Majesty, I will stay not because I must, but because I want to." "Lyrithia has become home." The Queen's stern face softened. "Then it is settled. You are truly the hero of two worlds." Epilogue. The stars await. That night, Elias looked once more toward the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, small, distant, yet always calling to him. He wondered if his people knew what they had inspired across the galaxy. He thought about humanity, about how far they had come, and how much they had to give. Humans were not the strongest or the fastest, but they were something greater, unpredictable, determined, and endlessly hopeful. As dawn broke, Elias whispered to himself, "Where there's a human, there's always a chance."